Hello, and welcome to this instructional video on how to successfully fill out the HomeKey Annual Report form. This video is specifically for grantees who have executed standard agreements with the State of California Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD, HomeKey program before the end of the previous calendar year, December 31st, 2024. My name is Daniel Herman, and I'm with the Multifamily Grants Management HomeKey team. Our goal is to provide grantees with a step-by-step guide on how to successfully submit a HomeKey annual report for your contract. If at the end of this presentation you still have questions, please reach out to your assigned grant management representative and they will be happy to assist you. The agenda for the presentation is as follows. We will review how to find the report on the HCD website. We will go over general reminders for the annual report. We will have an overview of the reporting requirements. And lastly, I will do a walkthrough of the first tab of the annual report, the Grantee Certification and Project Status tab. We will review the important aspects in the presentation, and then we will do a walkthrough of the report form itself afterwards. So for the first part, how to find the annual report form. First, go to the Monitoring Forms and Disbursement page of the HomeKey program on HCD's website. You can do this by going to the link on the screen, www.hcd.ca.gov/grants-and-funding/HomeKey/monitoring-forms-and-disbursement. When you get to the page, you'll notice that there are two pluses next to disbursement and reporting. Please click on the plus next to reporting, and it will expand the options. There you will see the annual report form link in blue. Please click on this and download the Excel file to your computer. So that is how to find the form on the website. So before we start reviewing how to fill out the form, it's first important to go over general reminders. So as we just saw, it's important to download the latest version of the form from HCD's website. The form has changed from the previous year, and it was just recently uploaded. So please ensure you're using the most current version of the form for it to be accepted. Next, please complete the report in the desktop version of Excel. When you click on the link, it may open the report in the Excel browser version. However, please open up in the Excel version instead, perhaps by saving the document to your desktop or to your documents folder. If you open it through the browser, certain parts of the form will not work properly. Macros. You must open your document through the desktop version in order for the macros to work. So as we'll see later in this form, certain cell selections are dynamic and influence other parts of the form, and those will only work, those macros in the desktop version, if you click Enable Macros. Next, complete all required tabs of the report as applicable. As we'll also see in the walkthrough, there are instructions within the report to only complete certain sections depending on the overall project status. So if the report or if the project is occupied and operational, you will have to complete all parts of the report. But if your project is, say, still in construction, you will only complete 2 tabs of the report. And that will all be explained further in further detail later. Next, make sure you are filling in all fields in the color yellow. Those are the fields in which we need grantee responses. So having it all be one color should make it clear where we need information. Next, please ensure you are submitting the completed reports to your assigned grant management representative. the person who you contact on a daily basis from the HomeKey team for your contract, that'll be the person who you'll submit your report to. And lastly, if you have any supporting documentation that you need to include as part of the report, say if you reported expenditures in the expenditure report tab, please ensure you're attaching that documentation when submitting your form as well. So more overview of reporting requirements. Why are we doing an annual report? Well, it is a requirement of the Notice of Funding Availability, the NOFA, and the Executed Standard Agreement that we have an annual report that collects information on the previous calendar year from January 1st to December 31st. And the parameters of what kind of information we would like to collect is listed in section 601 of the NOFA, and it's to help us track progress and success of the program itself. And as you've all been made aware, the reporting requirement has changed where they're now due on March 31st following the calendar reporting year. So no longer January 31st, but March 31st. So there will be 6 parts of the annual report this year. And if your project is not yet occupied or operational, you will only be required to complete the first 2 tabs, the Grantee Certification and Project Status tab and the Expenditure Report tab. However, if your project is fully occupied and operational, you will need to complete all tabs of the report, which include standard agreement compliance, operating costs, equity strategies, and progress and outcomes. Tab 6 will always be completed by HCD and does not need to be completed by the grantee. So once more, this is what the report will look like. As you can see, there are cells marked in yellow. Those are the cells that need to be completed by the grantee. Any cell that is green will be completed by HCD staff. Again, please open up the workbook in the desktop app and not the browser, and please enable macros. All right, now we will turn to the form itself. So the first dynamic cell that's worth mentioning is cell C15, the total number of sites. Please select the number of sites in the project and the corresponding number of sites will appear. So most projects will only have one site with one corresponding address and APN. If that's the case, select 1. But if you have any other number of sites, please select that number and the appropriate amount of rows will appear. An important note is what to do if you have a confidential address. If you have a confidential address, then you can leave cell C15, the number of sites, as select 1. You don't need to enter any selection. And then for cell C13, to the question, must your project's address be kept confidential due to serving individuals for whom disclosing their location could lead to substantial harm? You will select yes. And if you select yes, there is a further statement about the implications, meaning that you will not be recommended for publicity events or visitation requests from HCD, other state departments, or state legislature / the governor's office. However, the project still may be subject to site visits for compliance monitoring. So again, take these steps if you would like to keep your address confidential. The next cell we will review is perhaps one of the most important, and that is the overall site status. So for the overall site status, you will enter the relevant response. And if you are fully occupied and operational, that will pull up the language saying that you must complete all tabs of the report. If you make another selection, such as construction still in progress, it will prompt you that you only need to complete these first 2 tabs of the report. So whatever your project status is, please ensure that you do it correctly for this cell so that the correct tabs appear for you to complete. The next dynamic cell is cell C33, which is the type of unit that the project has. Is your project interim, permanent, interim to permanent, or a mix of interim to permanent and permanent? If you selected interim to permanent, then another portion of the report will appear as a section only for those interim to permanent conversion projects. And if that is the case, please complete that information for which we need to collect for those interim to permanent projects. So if you're just interim or just permanent, those cells C are, cells 51 through 64 will not appear. The next 2 questions concern only round 2 projects. If you selected round 2 as your round earlier in the form, then these 2 questions will appear regarding occupancy bonus awards and flex forms. The question for row 38 is, was the occupancy bonus award forfeited? If you didn't have a bonus award, you'll just select NA. If your award was not forfeited because it was dispersed because the bonus award was achieved on time, occupancy was met within that 8-month period, then you'll select no. The bonus award was not forfeited. However, if it was, select yes. Again, this question should only appear if you're a round 2 project. Next, in row 39, we have the flex form. Again, if you had a flex form submitted and approved by the department, select yes. If you have not, select no. So one of the last parts of the form to go over is the self-certification and signature portion of the form. A little preview of this part. So the first self-certification is an acknowledgement of our reporting requirements. And those are that we require the annual report every year for a project until occupancy is achieved. And then once occupancy is achieved, an annual report is due every year for 5 years following that achievement. So this self-certification is to make you all aware of what our reporting requirements are in relation to how many years we require our report to be submitted. If you have any questions about this, please reach out to your grant management representative. Now, another self-certification question I wanted to highlight is related to events and promotional materials. The question asks, would you like the project to be included in recommendations for publicity events and state promotional materials, including potential governor's office or legislature press events, published materials on program successes, or other uses intended to promote HomeKey or other state programs? I would like to let you know that the response to this question is optional. It's not a requirement of the standard agreement to be included in these materials. So there is no penalty if you do not want to be included in these materials or events. However, if you would, please select yes. And lastly is the signature. This year, we will only accept electronic type signatures. We will not accept a physical or scanned signature of the PDF. So please ensure that whoever signs is doing so electronic via the form. So thank you for going over the presentation portion. I will now turn to the form itself. So here is what the grantee certification and project status form looks like. The beginning part of the form should be relatively self-explanatory. The reporting period, will be for January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. You select your appropriate home key round. For this example, I'll select round 2. You enter your contract number in the cell B5. And as a reminder, we need 1 report per contract. The project's name, the grantee name, the sponsor's name, the co-applicant names and the co-applicant types, what entity type, and then the preparer's information as well. These are the questions that we've previously reviewed for address confidentiality and the number of sites. So let's just, as an example, say our project has 5 sites, then 5 rows will appear. But if we'd like to be a confidential site, then we'll select yes and leave this as select 1. So C27, the response to overall site status, again, is that very important dynamic field that will influence the rest of the report, whether it will appear or not. Let's say we are under construction. We will get that instruction saying just to complete this tab in the expenditure report tab. However, if we say, yes, we are fully occupied and operational, then it will have those other tabs appear that we need to complete, and we will be prompted to complete those tabs as well. So please ensure that you are selecting the correct status so that the correct number of tabs appear. So continuing on, so construction has started. Please enter the construction start date. But perhaps you selected as overall site status, construction has not yet started. If that's the case, in C31, please explain why construction has not yet started. It should be a relatively lengthy narrative to help us understand why. And if fully occupied and operational was selected, then in cell C32, please enter the number of years that has been occupied, say 2. Cell C33, again, please select the type of unit that will be provided. This will expand the information for interim to perm projects, so we'll show that. C34, choose the most relevant project type from the dropdown. It should be listed in your project report or standard agreement. So let's say modular housing, affordability covenant, master leasing, existing rehab. And if it was other, please explain what that other is. Cell 36 is asking if the unit type or project type has changed since the execution of the standard agreement, please select yes. So again, here's the unit type C33. Here's the project type C34. Row 37 asks if you agree to employ the core components of Housing First in the property management and tenant selection process. And then rows 38 and 39 appear again because this is a round 2 project that we selected. So if your bonus award has been forfeited, select yes. If your flex form has been approved, select yes. Now, section 3 of the tab is the milestone completion and due date summary tab or portion. Here you'll provide information on the contract's milestones. Row 42 is a self-certification question asking whether or not you've completed all milestones by their original standard agreement due date or by their approved extended due dates. So if you don't have any outstanding milestones, that's also what you'll be certifying. So please read the question and make the appropriate selection. And then down here, we have a milestone summary table. In column B, enter in the current due date. That's either the original standard agreement date or the latest approved extended due date. And then in column C, you'll enter the date achieved. And if it has not been achieved yet, just leave it blank. Then here again is that section for interim to permanent conversion projects only. Pretty standard questions that we ask in our other forms. What is your anticipated construction start date? What is your actual construction start date? The numbers that you anticipate of units to be offline during construction. Did you record the use restriction? Yes or no? Yes. What date? So these should be familiar questions. And then lastly, we have the certification portion. Each question asking you to select yes or no to these statements. So do you agree to do all parts of the report as required? Do you agree to our reporting requirements every year until occupied, and then every year for 5 years after occupancy is achieved? Do you agree to employ the core components of Housing First? Do you agree to retain the appropriate insurance amounts? Are you providing supportive services as required? And that optional events and promotional materials question. Then the name of the person who is preparing this form, and then their signature. So if you have any questions about the annual report form or process or any of these questions, please reach out to your grant management representative and they'll be happy to assist you. And please watch any of the other videos in this series if you have any other questions about the other tabs. Thank you.